Okay, so earlier today it was announced that Trump is going to pardon the former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez. And let me tell you what's weird about this shit. So in 2024, Juan Orlando Hernandez, former president of Honduras, was convicted in the United States for drug trafficking, arms, and he was sentenced to 45 years. Okay? And apparently Trump is on Truth Social talking about, oh, this was unjust, it was unfair, this great man, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to pardon him. And this is the NPR article. It mentions in the article that he had served 2 terms as president. So something else that Trump did was that he announced that he was supporting Tito Asfora, who is the conservative candidate running for president right now in Honduras, by the way. They're having elections right the fuck now. It looks like election day's on the 30th. Their elections are happening now, which this seems to be a pattern with Trump, right? I feel like just a few months ago, maybe it was Argentina, where he was on the same shit, dicking around publicly and just telling the people to elect, basically telling the parties that be in that country to make sure that the conservative candidate wins, right? Whatever. Of course, you remember, we just did this a little while ago because he gave them $40 billion. So this is what he says on Truth Social today. He says, basically, if y'all don't elect Tito, we're not going to be sending no money your way. We're not going to be throwing good money away if you're not putting the right person in office, which is the conservative guy that has been, by the way, credibly accused of embezzling money of public funds. Of course, right? Of course. Trump also says, well, if Tito Asfora, I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, sorry. If he loses, then, the country's going to go to crap like Venezuela is right now. Remember whose boats he's bombing right now. I'm sorry. Remember whose boats we are bombing right now. Whose boats are we attacking right now? Venezuela. Actually, I found this article from 2018 in the LA Times, and it's right before Hernandez's last election. It says he's the first president to be elected for 2 terms. Why? Because their constitution does not allow for more than 1 term. So what did he do? He got a majority in the Congress and the Supreme Court. And then in 2015, there was a court ruling under Hernandez's term, basically saying that he could get a 2nd term. In 2017, his brother was charged by the DA here in Miami for moving drugs and arms and stuff for the Mexican cartels. Also, he was using the Honduran army and military in order to do that. Isn't that crazy? So yeah, by 2018, by the election that, everyone's like, no, this election isn't valid because the fuck he doing? Can't do this shit. He put the military out in the streets while people were protesting, and a bunch of people died. People were jailed, all the things. He put the military up in the Capitol, right? Sound familiar? It should sound a little familiar. It should. Now I found this other article from 2021 because, I read the first one. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I don't know anything about international stuff, but I find it very odd that Trump is paying this situation any attention at all. So the article from 2021, you may want to grab some tequila for this one so the article from 2021 talks about one of the things that he did while he was in office was he expanded the military into public spaces regularly. He also created elite military groups, basically, that had been charged with civil rights violations. And all this is in addition to the embezzlement, fraud, all those allegations that were between his family. His sister was in some part of the, just whatever you think is happening now here, it was happening over there times 10 at that point. And also talks about how the people are fighting against the palm oil corporations and the paramilitary group, the paramilitary groups that Hernandez created and started to serve corporate interests are driving the people out of the area, which reminds me that's how people end up in our country. Anyways, they're doing the same thing to the black people in the area, the people that are on the water. They're close to the water because now they want that waterfront property, right? Even though I'm sure whatever corporations he's working with and using the military for are connected to us. Now, currently there's a liberal president, and of course he left behind his buddies in every branch of government. So, and then it talks about how since he was expected to be extradited by the U.S. because obviously his brother was charged by the DA, obviously his ass was next. He started making public announcements about, hooking up with China and basically the people that are not supposed to be our allies, basically. Like, okay, well, y'all gonna fuck with me, then I'm gonna, hook us up some connections over here, basically. And the other thing it talks about is how he was planning to seek refuge in these corporate enclaves that had been created within the country that had whole new legal systems and everything. What does that sound like? Does that sound familiar? It should sound familiar. It sounds like Elon's little cities. We're just gonna start popping up all over. Again, what the fuck do y'all think about that? It's so interesting what he's doing. Very transparent, but he's essentially, what it looks like to me is he's trying to set up his own little conservative dictatorship allies. That's what he's doing, where they can all work together to make as much money as they can and do as much horrible shit as they can do. What do y'all think? Let me know. Bye.